the lone survivor tented up for the night. He started a fire, then started to cook a can of beans in the toasty embers. The undead stayed away from him like he was bad news, but he had a tight grip on his knife that sat underneath his cloak. It was all he needed since he was alone. It's a lonely life, but it always has been his entire life. Overall, we always find something to distract us for a while. So he stood there and cooked beans. When he finished eating, he returned his rifle to its holster. He checked the chamber and the ammo to make sure it was still okay, then double-checked. When all the ammunition was ready, he got ready to sleep and decided to grab his blanket to hold in his arms. He decided that his axe would be close by him so he wouldn't have to travel far to get the wood needed for fire. He sat down on the sand and dusted off his boot, then got the blanket out and laid it on his legs. He unwrapped the blanket and laid it on the sand. When he was done, he lay down and slept for a few hours. He woke up, the sun high in the sky. He looked down at his hands and noticed his nails were all broken. He doesn't know why or how this happened to him, but he is aware that he is lucky to be alive. He pulled out his knife and began chopping some wood that he found on the beach. He found some loose dirt and formed it into a ball and brought it to his hands. He began to shovel the dirt into a hole and used his other hand to rake it into a mound. The sun burned on the sand and made his day even hotter. He figured he'd just take a quick nap. He removed his armor and put it in the trunk of the car. As he did this, a few skeletons crawled out of the sand and stumbled toward him. He turned his back to them and got ready for combat. He stood up and used his sword to slice the first skeleton to pieces. When he stood back up, he found that the skeletons attacked from behind and fell to his blade. He shook the feeling off and charged the other skeletons. As they started to attack, the second soldier got up, untied the first, and tossed the second's rifle to the soldier. They then ran into the car. He made it to the driver's side of the car and started it up. He accelerated and pulled out. He sped down the highway and headed to the town of Richmond, Virginia. The soldier awoke in a sanitarium to find a doctor sitting next to him. "Good to see you, but I'm sure you are wondering why we brought you here." "What's going on?" the soldier said, staring at the doctor. The doctor shook his head and leaned in close. "I am your doctor. I am to determine if you've had any sort of brain damage." The soldier sat there dumbfounded. "I have brain damaged. What do you mean?" He was confused. "Let me up and let me out of here." He was ready to fight for his life. The doctor shook his head and replied, "Sorry soldier, you're not that bad. I was told that I would find that you are fine, but I am not an expert on your type of injury. I would be happy to examine you further if you let me." The soldier began to have his doubts, so he took the doctor's advice and opened the door. As soon as he did, the doctor found himself in a bloody battle with a creature. The thing rushed towards him and knocked the doctor to the ground. It pummeled the doctor, but couldn't get through the doctor's armor. When it couldn't any more damage, it ran up to the window of the car. The soldier grabbed his hand and tried to push the creature away. The thing found its way in. He saw the light of the sun off the creature's blade. The creature wiggled its way in. The soldier closed his eyes and prepared himself for the inevitable. When he opened his eyes, the monster was standing on top of him and looking down at him. The soldier tried to move, but couldn't. He tried to use his hands, but could not. The creature held him down with its many limbs. The creature was looking at the soldier's helmet. The soldier had on a full body armor that was laced with lights. As the creature began to get the helmet off, it got sucked inside the helmet. The helmet then grew a giant claw and grabbed onto the creature's skull. The creature began to shake its head, trying to break free. The soldier could hear the creature's brains splattering inside of it. When it couldn't break free, the creature gave up. The helmet began to fall. The soldier tried to reach for it, but his body wouldn't move. When the helmet broke off, the creature became a skeleton and began to beat the soldier over and over again. The sound was horrible. It was as if a bunch of frogs were tortured. The soldier screamed and begged for his life. He was in a daze and couldn't move. He was surrounded by these creatures. When the creature that was once the doctor was now a skeleton, the soldier was freed. He rolled out of the way and jumped out of the window and ran down the road. He was able to flag down a passing motorist. He told him what happened and they both called the police. When they arrived, the cop asked the soldier what had happened. "I don't remember what happened, but there were a bunch of skeletons," he said, through tears. The cop stared at the soldier for a moment, then he asked, "Did you have a scar on your arm?" The soldier, shocked, stared at him. The cop slowly closed his eyes and shook his head. "There is nothing wrong with you. Get out of my sight," the cop said. "I'm not hurt," the soldier screamed, "I'm fine. Please, I want to go home." The cop got out of the car and took a step closer to the soldier and looked him in the eyes. "I would like to know why you keep screaming." The soldier didn't understand the policeman and quickly fell to the ground. "I have a very bad headache. Please, just take me home." The policeman ran to the car and pushed the soldiers into the back seat while looking at the car's tag. "Where is your family?" the policeman asked. "They're not here," the soldier said. "I don't even know who my family is." "You have no family?" "I don't know." The policeman felt something fall in his lap. He looked down and saw his coffee. The policeman looked at his watch. "Your mother would be arriving in a few minutes. Do you want me to call them and tell them you're okay?" "Please, they don't care." The policeman shook his head and took a step back. "Get out of the car and stand over there," he said. The soldier got out of the car and stood on the side of the road. He didn't know what was happening to him, but he knew it wasn't good. "You need to tell me why you were screaming," the policeman said. The soldier was still shaking and couldn't understand what the policeman was saying. He looked down at the ground and began to cry. "I don't know. I just started screaming." The policeman knew something was wrong with him. He went to his car and pulled out a pair of handcuffs. "Put those on me," the soldier said. "Why?" the policeman asked. The soldier looked back at the policeman. "Please, don't make me do that." The policeman looked at the soldier and was sure he was being tortured. "Put them on or I will make you." The soldier reluctantly put them on, and the policeman led him back to the police car. As they sat in the back seat, the soldier looked at the policeman with great disgust. "You did something to me," he said. "What did I do?" the policeman asked. "You took my favorite doctor away from me." The policeman knew something was wrong with this soldier, but he didn't know what. The soldier looked at the policeman in disgust. "You don't even know what that was." The policeman started driving. He looked at the soldier and put his hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry. It was an experiment. I'm just trying to help." The soldier pulled away from the police car and got back on the highway. The police car was no longer in sight. He turned on his cell phone and called his girlfriend. "I have something to tell you," he said. "Okay," she said. The soldier hung up the phone and didn't know what to say. He didn't know why he had been screaming, but he did know that he didn't like it. "Why was I screaming?" he asked. "No one knows," she said. Then the soldier remembered something. "The giggle monster," he screamed, as he suddenly remembered. "The giggle monster? The giggle monster ate my family." "Your family?" she asked. "I don't have a family," the soldier screamed. "You don't?" she asked. "No," he screamed. "I was a scientific experiment." Experiment. What? I was fed to the giggle monster. Oh. She didn't know what to say. The giggle monster told me not to say anything. All of a sudden, the giggle monster appeared in front of the soldier. "You broke my rule," the giggle monster said. "You weren't supposed to say anything about me, but you did. Now you know what needs to be done." The soldier knew what needed to be done. But he didn't want to die, so he done what only thing he could do. Run. "Oh, stupid human. You're only going to die tired," the giggle monster said. The monster ran with incredible speed. He caught the soldier and ripped him up into pieces, killing him within seconds. If you hear a giggle in the distance out of nowhere, don't look for it. It's the giggle monster looking for its next meal.